Um, okay, well, let's go ahead and get started. Thank you, everyone, for your patience this morning. I'd like to welcome everyone to the Operations Committee meeting for March 24th. If you've not done so, please mute your phone for the call. I'm going to read a roll call of members of the Operation Committee to see who is present. Please state your name before responding for the record. Commissioner Ames Messenger.
Ames Messenger present.
Commissioner Simmons.
Simmons present.
Commissioner Mohammed.
Mohammed present.
And recognizing Chair Sally.
Good morning. I'm present this morning.
Wonderful. We have a number of items on the list this morning for our agenda, and I will turn it over to the team first to discuss the Carter G. Woodson Southside Facilities Agreement.
Good morning. Hi, everybody. I'm Angela Alvarez. I'm the Senior Executive Director of the Office of New Initiatives. Good morning, commissioners. Good morning, members of the public.
Good morning.
Can you guys see my screen? Is it projecting? Okay, perfect.
Yes.
Now it is, yes.
Okay, awesome. So this action is aligned to Board Priority 5, where we seek to provide equitable access to district resources to our community. We have a property called the Carter G. Woodson Southside property. Some background on this in school year 21-22, when the board approved the closure of New Era Academy, there was really a push for the community to consider, could we attract a developer or some sort of organization to help us create like a right-sized school eventually in the community. And so that came out of that community process around New Era Academy. New Era Academy was housed in the Southside building, which was a fairly large building designed to hold 1,100 students when it was constructed. That building is connected to the nearby Dr. Carter G. Woodson building. They share an HVAC system underground. So you look at it, you might not be obvious that they're connected, but those are connected and they sit on a single parcel of land. Dr. Carter G. Was an elementary middle school that closed in 2017-18 as part of our 21st Century Buildings Plan. That at one point that community had 4 elementary middle school students for a population where only two schools for that grade band were necessary. And so Arundel Elementary School, which is our early learning site, and Cherry Hill Elementary Middle School were constructed as part of that plan to serve the community and to have a continuum where the schools were not competing with each other. That came out of community feedback, community process, including that grade band structure that we have in Cherry Hill. And so this building is and the land represent about 21 to 22 acres of land. So we first in school year 22-23 did an expression of interest in partnership with the city's housing team, who helped put it out on their site just to see, because we said to the community, we don't know if this will work. We don't know if we could attract anybody. We haven't done anything quite like this before. We don't have a lot of experience. So we put it out there, and there was some interest that was generated from that. And so with doing a lot of engagement over time and some back and forth, we got to the point where we released a call for proposal. One of the major goals of this is, in order for us to be able to do it, we would need a developer who would be willing to fully construct that a new right-size, medium-sized high school of 600 to 700 students at no cost to city schools. Like, we do not have enough resources to sustain it, but if the value of the property could generate that, that would be a great thing. And so there's more than enough land that could be divided for multiple uses on that property. There's a lot of support from the city as well as the state government agencies for seeing if we can make something like this happen. And so that's what brought us here. Just for members of the public, I think it's important for us to kind of explain why we say at no cost to city schools. And so one of the things that we've tried to kind of share repeatedly is just kind of, how our facilities resources, what we have in comparison to like other places in the state. And so we continue to have less funding for our infrastructure. We've made a lot of progress, but still the oldest infrastructure in the state. And so our resources don't stretch as much as our peers. So like this is a table from the comptroller's study that she did on facilities in the state of Maryland. And you can see, and we added the last column just to kind of do a per pupil comparison. So it kind of really shows the disparity in what we have in terms of resources for facility dollars compared to our counterparts in other parts of the state with similar populations of students and similar facilities inventory. So you can see there's a huge difference in resources. And so this is one of the reasons why it has to be at no cost to city schools. We don't have enough funding to take care of our inventory for the schools that we house. And I think this slide is very familiar to people, but I think it bears repeating again and why at no cost. The amount of resources that we get in our annual budget of 155 million does not meet the need of 530 million for our capital maintenance for a district of our size and number of buildings. And so that's a $375 million gap every year that compounds over time. So this is another reason why this can't be at a cost to city schools. So we released a call for proposals this summer and have gone through a process of reviewing applications. So this is kind of the timeline of that process. We had 3 applications in total. 2 of the 2 stronger applications did community presentations. And so we did a community meeting and they made videos. We posted the application and opened up a survey, which we pushed out reminders over a month period of time to get feedback from the community on the applications and have and are today sharing and hoping to get approval in April to be able to move forward with one of the applicants. The 3 submissions we got came from a group called Baker's Investments, another group called We the People, and Cherry Hill Strong, which came with some partners. And in a minute, I'll go into a little bit more detail. This was reviewed by a panel that included staff from city schools, from our facilities, legal and finance offices, as well as O&I, as well as staff from the city of Baltimore, from their housing and planning teams, and as well as community members. There were 2 rounds of review. First, the initial review to determine which ones would go through the community review, and then another round of review that took into consideration that additional broader community feedback from the surveys that we pushed out. So that's that process. We have selected to try to move forward with Cherry Hill Strong and its partners. Their application was significantly stronger than the other 2 and really demonstrated the combined capacity of that group to potentially bring this to fruition. They had a team of folks with a proven track record of success. So some of their partners included Cross Street Partners, who have developed over $1 million a square foot of property in Baltimore and Cambridge, Maryland, as well as in Dayton, Ohio. They've had projects from University, a building for University of Dayton, the Lions Building, the Packing House, Henderson Crossing, so a number of major projects. Seawell is another one of the partners that is working with Cherry Hill Strong on this, who has over $500 million of past development projects in Baltimore, Philly, and Delaware. There are some examples of their past projects include the Center for Urban Families building, our Green Street Academy, Middle High School, the Lexington Market, and the Baltimore Design School. And then their other partners, Hort, Copland, and Mocht, who have 47 years of architectural and design experience, including working on over 80 K-12 projects. And that includes schools within our district. So they've worked on Walter P. Carter and Lois T. as part of the 21st Century Reach Partnership, as well as schools in other parts of the state, Dorchester High School, or in other areas of the country, Benjamin Banneker, Dover High School, and Jefferson High School and Relocation Center. And so you see some examples of their work there, including our own Reach High School. This application also came with strong letters of support from the Governor's Office for Children, the Maryland Department of Housing, South Baltimore Gateway Partnership, Catholic Charities, Equitable Facilities Fund, the Low Income Investment Fund, the Sherman Family Foundation, the William Julius Wilson Institute, Enterprise Community Partners, as well as Purpose-Built Communities. Important to note that Cherry Hill Strong, or the Cherry Hill community, became a purpose-built community a few years ago. Cherry Hill Strong is the quarterback for that. Purpose-Built is a nonprofit organization that awards communities technical expertise in order to do development projects that serve entire communities from birth through old age, and helping to build strong communities. It was designed to sort of be an effort towards anti-gentrification that really looked at revitalizing existing communities by thinking of them holistically. And so, Cherry Hill Strong is in the Cherry Hill community as part of that initiative. And so there's strong support from that partner for this application. Where we are with the proposals is what we want to do is what Cherry Hill Strong and each of the applicants presented to us within the CFP are really kind of like were high level ideas, but not a like concrete idea. And so what we would like to recommend to the board for approval when we come back to the full board in April is to allow us to enter into a limited exclusive negotiation agreement with Cherry Hill Strong, with the goal of coming out of that process a concrete proposal that the board could say yay or nay to develop the property. This would allow us to have deeper work continue with the community. We want to make sure there's strong site and safety security that we mutually agreed to at the site. That again, that we're really clear and standing on firm that the proposal has to come up with a way to fund the construction of the high school that's not depending on city schools contributing any funds, because we do not have the funds to do that. And that there's deep, broad engagement with the community within that process. The exclusive negotiating agreement would cover a 12-month period of time, and we would want, again, that result of that approvable plan, the results in that high school, as well as other things of interest to the community with the remaining part of the property. And so they would have to submit plans to show us that they want to do deep engagement. We know that that is something that they've expressed an interest in committing to and have experience doing that in other projects. It would be limited exclusivity, so it doesn't obligate us to continue with them if it doesn't come, if what results is not a proposal that's, compliant with, having a fully funded, the construction of a fully funded high school at the site, or if there are certain other key requirements that were not met. And so it would come with clear milestones to make sure that there is actual progress happening along the way. and that we're getting a much more concrete sense of the feasibility of this and the commitment of this and the ability for them to do that in a way that's responsive. It would allow for the board to terminate and the district to terminate the NA if there's failure to meet any of those kind of key things. But it does allow us to move forward in a serious way. So this is why we think it's an important sort of next step in the process, while still giving us flexibility if it doesn't pan out in the direction that we're hoping forward. I think it signals to community that we're serious and we'll be continuing on this process that has taken some time. And so this again helps us to keep it moving forward. And so, again, while still maintaining the authority of city schools, to walk away if it doesn't really result in what the goals are. So I wanted to make sure that we can share it with the operations committee today. And then we'll be requesting approval at the April 21st board meeting.
Thank you for that presentation. Questions from fellow commissioners?
No questions. I don't have any questions.
Sure. This is Commissioner Mohammed. I think that this is an amazing opportunity for us. I just want to be assured that all of our community partners have the same comfort and the same awareness. I know that we've received some communication around the progress of this project. I think just bringing it prior to it being presented to the entire board, if we can get an update on the communication with those local community organizations and the CDC in the area, so that we can have some comfort knowing that this plan is well received across board, then I think this is something that I certainly would be comfortable with. But want to be able to hear that those conversations have gone on, and some sort of follow-up coming to the board would be helpful prior to this being presented publicly.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think the other thing too, I'm going to lift up here is like part of the, this is again allowing for exploratory period to get more concrete plans. And so part of the requirements for Cherry Hill Strong and Partners will be to do deep community engagement and to demonstrate support. So that's part of what's going to happen on that 12-month timeline with the key deliverables. So at this point, we're sharing, this is like the group that we selected. Again, we had community members. They were presentation of community members and communities participated in that review process to get us to a point of like just working with a group to see if we can get a concrete plan. But we'll give some updates on just where we are with communications and along the way. I think that's going to be important as we move forward.
I do have a quick question. Is Angela? I'm sorry. Good morning. Is this a part of the work that is this a part of the enough work that Cherry Hill Strong is doing? Did they kind of fold this into their project as well? Do you know that?
I believe this is in alignment with their project. That's the support from the governor's office that oversees that grant for this project. Yes.
Thank you.
Other questions? One question I do have, just to make sure I'm clear on what's coming in front of the board in April, is there, when you're entering into what you're proposing, right, an exclusive negotiating time period, is there an agreement that is signed for that time period? And that's what's coming in front of the board, is to say we want to enter into a 12-month agreement to negotiate and then to negotiate these different points that you outlined.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, well, thank you for the work on this and the update here. And we'd love to see that communication before the board meeting.
Perfect. Okay. Thank you, guys. Thank you.
One thing I skipped over at the very beginning in starting, I also want to make a note about public comments. Members of the public who would like to provide comment to this committee can do so by signing up up until the day of the meeting at the start of the meeting. Up to 5 individuals will be given the opportunity to provide comment to the Operations Committee, and speakers will be granted 3 minutes. All public comment should be addressed to operations-related issues. Individuals or groups interested in providing comment to the committee may sign up one of 3 ways: by either emailing public.comment@bcps.k12.md.us or calling the board office at 443-642-4095, or visiting the board office at the Alice G. Pendle Hughes Building, 200 East North Avenue, room 406. And finally, the chat function during our meetings will not be used as a tool for gathering feedback or answering questions from the public. So if you have any questions, feel free to email schoolboard@bcps.k12.md.us. Okay, well, that is, let me make sure that if that is the only item on the agenda, it's the only item I'm seeing in, yes, let's move on now to the procurement agenda review. So that's the only item for presentation and discussion. Let's see, who will be presenting procurement today?
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
Hi. So my name's Katie or Catherine Kamenicki, and I'm from the procurement department. We have a couple items today. The first item is section 14.1. The Chief Information Technology Officer requests the board's approval to renew the following 1-year software maintenance and support service contracts. The estimated total contract amount is $7,875,000, and the contract term is July 1, 2026 through June 30th, 2027.
Questions from fellow commissioners? Okay.
Section 14.2, the Chief Information Technology Officer requests the board's approval to renew the following software maintenance and support services piggyback contracts, and the estimated annual cost is $2,820,000, and the contract term for these piggybacks may vary based on the sourcing agency.
Questions from fellow commissioners? Okay, next.
The next item is section 15.1. The Chief Operating Officer requests the board's approval to increase the contract with Modular Genius to provide modular classrooms and installation services at various city schools on an as-needed basis. The board is requested to increase the total estimated contract amount by $2,500,000. The contract term is March 27th, 2019 through September 26th, 2027.
Any
Yes.
questions on this one? Mhm.
I had a quick question, and just you don't have to answer it now unless you happen to know the answer. Before the next board meeting is fine. Just where for those modular sites is that to support swing spaces and or like what are the sites that we're anticipating? I mean, obviously it's to just have the procurement ready if we need it, but it just if we had an idea of where that was likely going to be used, that would be helpful.
And I can actually answer. Hi, I'm Cindy Smith, Executive
I
Director.
wondered if you were on the line with the answer.
Yep.
Yes, ma'am.
Yep, Executive Director for Capital Projects. So actually, we have one very specific site in mind for a lot of this. We currently have been leasing a portable at Ben Franklin to deal with their overcrowding, and we're going to purchase it outright at this point without knowing exactly when the IAC is going to fund a renovation and addition. It just makes fiscal sense to just purchase it outright and maintain it in our portfolio. And then, yes, the rest of the funding would be to support wherever we might need it, whether it is that we put one at Arlington to help with their, HVAC issues as a swing alternative or something. That's one of the things we're looking at, and other swing spaces. But the big chunk is for Ben Franklin.
That's helpful. And whether that is on the board's end as we present that in full session or on your end, that is useful context for the full board and the community to include.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yep.
Good morning, Cindy. While we have you,
Morning. Yep.
can you unpack this a little bit more for me? As I know we did an increase in 2004 of 2 million. Now we're doing another increase, and I know that this is predominantly focused at Ben Franklin, but as a district, can you talk to me about how we're using this, and is the semi-permanent structure something that we're going to continue to use as a tool?
So the semi-permanent structure, i.e. a portable, is always a tool for us whenever we've got an immediate overcrowding issue that we might need to resolve. I will say Modular Genius is also the ones who provides our prefab buildings. So such as that 2-story one that we just opened at Marie G. Faring, that actually came from Modular Genius. So without this contract and those increases, we can't even do those. We have another 2 of those planned in the future. Right now, we are paying for a lease for Ben Franklin out of operating funds, and it is becoming burdensome. And we don't know when the IAC is actually going to approve the addition there. We do have an addition submitted for that building to the IAC, but they have not indicated any immediate, any upcoming additions being approved there. So this portable definitely provides the capacity that is absolutely needed at Ben Franklin. It is overcrowded. And purchasing it, we can actually purchase it using our local capital money. And our payback literally is 2 years. So, purchasing it is about 1.5 years worth of the lease. So it definitely makes more fiscal, sense to purchase it, which means this increase, because there's not enough money in the contract to do that increase at this time. It costs almost $1 million a year to lease it.
Yeah, I think this is a great tool. I like the way we're going about ensuring that the ownership lives with us.
Yeah.
I think one of the things that comes to mind is just the use of our school paces as a whole. When we find overcrowding, where are those students coming from, and are the nearby schools being used to their capacity? So just some interest in that. If there was any way to get us some information, and I know we just had the discussion around Carter G, so of course that would be super helpful if that was there. But just in general, how we're using these spaces in comparison to how we're actually using nearby school facilities would definitely be helpful. But in this, I'm definitely supportive, as it is definitely needed. And when we're taking ownership rather than leasing, I think that's a smart way to move forward. Thanks.
Great, thank you.
I have 2 kind of quick follow-up questions, mainly just for my knowledge as we're coming through this. You had mentioned that these were planned for 2 other sites, and just so we know where to anticipate those. And then on the leasing versus, what is the lifespan of a typical module? Like, when we look at depreciation, what is kind of the way maintenance, I'm assuming that we're accruing maintenance costs, whether it's leased or owned, but you're structurally, what is kind of the things that need to be considered over the next 10, 15, 20 years on these structures as opposed to a more traditional building?
Yeah, so a portable building like this is 20, 30, 40 years. It's all metal. So there is a decent lifespan out of it, usually with a metal roof even. A lot of times when we get to a project such as a roofing replacement project in the CIP, if we've hit, the 20-year span of a portable, we'll include that even as the scope of work if we weren't leasing it, because we wouldn't do that on something that we lease. If we own it, absolutely. Their lifespans, I mean, we have some that have been 50 years and longer. They do, of course, start to deteriorate at some point, but just like a normal building. The prefabs, those 2-story ones like we put at Marie G. Faring, definitely are more of the 50-year lifespan, with a typical roof replacement, typical window replacement needs. They do have more of a typical building life cycle needs, for systems. We're planning one at Lakeland. Lakeland is severely overcrowded right now. And actually the second one is the Ben Franklin one. that we were going to put for the addition for Ben Franklin, it was going to be a 2-story prefab. So ultimately that's, how we plan to do that addition there, which would replace this portable long-term. Now, once we own the portable, we can then dismantle it and move it elsewhere. So if we have another building that is then overcrowded or anything like that, where we're looking like we need some more space, if we own it, it's ours and we can, relocate it. There is a cost associated with relocations of those, but it's much less than buying a brand new one.
And just like a sense of scale, because we have is there one at Mount Washington? There's the MAPS program is in one. Yeah.
2-story is the new one at Mount Washington is one of the 2-story prefabs. So that is more of a standalone building, just like the one we put at Marigi Faring. That was the first one of those 2-story prefabs that we built, that has a more typical, building construction and more typical lifespan of a building. MAPS is in an older one. That is an older one from Lamel that's from the 60s, I believe.
But
so it's been there for a long time.
Well, yes.
Yes. Yep. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, if they do require maintenance, just like anything else, but if they're maintained, they survive quite a while.
And about how many do we have in the district at the moment? Like ballpark, are we talking 5? Are we talking 30?
We're talking between 10 and 20, as I recall. We do provide an inventory to the IAC every year in the CIP, and I cannot remember what the number was this year, but I think it's around 15 to 20, roughly.
This is really helpful. Thanks.
Of course, you're welcome.
Any additional questions? Thank you, Cindy.
Thank you.
Okay, next.
All right. Yep. All right. So the next item is section 15.2. The Chief Operating Officer requests the board's approval to piggyback Howard County government's contract with WGL Energy to provide electrical energy supply and services. And this was part of the BrickPack consortium. The estimated annual fee is $69,600 plus the supply cost of providing electricity, and that range is typically between $13 million and $15 million per year. The contract term is September 1st, 2026 through August 31st, 2027, and that includes 9 one-year renewal options.
Any questions on this one?
Yes. So can I have staff explain the distinction between the fixed service fee and the much larger underlining electricity spend that lives here? Are there any advantages to purchasing the structure?
Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Raj Bachubai, Manager for Energy Efficiency and Operations, and I can answer that question. So WGL Energy Services is for a supply of electricity. Maryland is a state where we can choose a different supplier to budget our rates and also to receive a lower rates. We and BrickPack, which is Baltimore Regional Purchasing Cooperative Committee, we are member of the committee, so we buy energy in bulk, so we can get better rates and we can budget our rates also in advance. There are 24 jurisdictions part of this, and this WGL was a supplier last 10 years also, and again they won the contract for providing electricity to our schools and all the other members. The fees is for managing all the billing, getting the account in PJM, which buys the energy in market when it is like we procure energy in advance about 70%. The BrickPack contract, I mean, the terms are that we buy in advance, but then 20 to 30% is bought on the market at current rate, and all that work is done by WGL, and the fees is based on 0.46 cents per kilowatt hours per megawatt hours, I think. And that is the fees, and which approximately comes to the 69,600. And then depending on how much energy we use for our buildings, we pay the supply charges, and that based on the current rate, which we budget in advance. As per all the BRICPAC member pays the same budget rates. And we save a lot by budgeting and procuring the energy in advance. And all those transactions are done through WGL, and that's why those are the fees.
I appreciate that. That feedback was extremely helpful. I think we're doing a great job at ensuring that we purchase our energy at a lower cost. Do we also have a strategy at the same time at reducing the amount of energy and our exposure just over time? Do we have a plan around that as well?
Yes, absolutely. Yes. So we do have a sustainability policy, which one of the one of the item under there is energy conservation, and I do work with our building automations team to control our building occupancy and temperatures correlation. Also, we do a lot of lighting projects with the grants and rebates available, which reduces our electrical usage. And we try to save wherever we can and spread the awareness among students and staff for conservation and being more sustainable in using our natural resources.
I appreciate that. If it could be helpful, if you, we don't need it why, but if you can give us an example, not today, but you can give it to us in writing. If you can give us an example of a school in which we implemented such cost savings, and we can look at what the cost of running energy in that building was prior to this, so we can kind of weigh the investment that was made versus the cost savings. It may give us some insight so that when the opportunity presents itself to us in the future, that we'll well prepared to be able to have that conversation. So thank you so much.
Sure, absolutely. And just to let me just add a couple more things. So BGE, Baltimore Gas and Electric, is our main distributor in this area. All our schools are under BGE, and that's we have to pay them the distribution cost, which is like about, now it became like about 30% of the total bill, and the supply bill is another 70% of that, which is very essential. Like either we choose BGE as a supplier or we choose some other like WGL to reduce our cost. BGE costs are much higher as a supplier than when we are choosing another. So just to give a background on that, why this is needed.
Thank you so much for your insight. It was extremely helpful. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. And we'll provide the information needed. Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you. Let's go next.
Right, the final section is section 18, Chief Legal Officer. Section 18.1, the Chief Legal Officer requests the board's approval to increase the contract amount and extend the term with outside counsel Ogletree, Deakins, Nash, Smoke, and Stewart, who have extensive experience in personnel and other related matters. This First Amendment increases the contract amount from $400,000 to $800,000. And the contract term is July 1 through 2026 of June, but that will be extended through December 31st of 2026.
Any questions on this one? Yep, thank you.
Section 18.2, the Chief Legal Officer requests the board's approval to increase the contract amount with outside counsel at Bassberry and Sims who have extensive experience in civil litigation, investigations by external agencies, and other related matters. This First Amendment increases the contract amount from $100,000 to $175,000, an increase of $75,000. And the contract term is July 1st, 2025 through June 30th, 2026.
Any questions on this one?
The last item is section 18.3. The chief legal officer requests the board's approval to increase the contract amount with outside counsel at Jackson Lewis, who has extensive experience in personnel and related legal matters. The Second Amendment increases the contract amount from $160,000 to $300,000, an increase of $140,000. The contract term is April 1st, 2025 through June 30th, 2026.
Any questions on this one?
No questions here. Comment to fellow board members as we continue to see increased procurement items around legal needs. I think that we're seeing this consistently. I would suggest that maybe we have some conversation around, because these are needed when they're needed. However, there's room for us to prepare, and maybe there are some conversations that we need to have to look at maybe bringing some of these specialties in-house, because these are reoccurring. And I think every time we come into a procurement, we're seeing something around legal. So just begs to for us to really take this into consideration to see if there is something we can do to reduce some of these costs. And if the answer is no, it's no, but I think it deserves a conversation.
I agree. I think we definitely need to have conversation. This is, in my time, probably the second or third time that we kind of bumped up. And you're correct. I think we do need to think about how we bring some of this work in-house rather than growing contracts outside.
I certainly know that Chief Sivin has spoken to some of the calculations that are made as it relates to when those when items are best situated as in-house versus external counsel. I know he's on the call here now, and I guess I wonder, Chief Sivin, is there a different time or space that might be best for speaking to some of these pieces? Given that there are, questions here, and I know you have spoken to them at different points in time previously.
Yeah, happy to continue the conversation. I do think that there is always and welcome the push, a balance between the ongoing work of folks who specialize internally and then being prepared. And a lot of this work is making sure we have the contracts in place if we have a need, right? And we always hope for the best, but we want to, especially lawyers, prepare for the worst. So some of this is if we increase the spend and never use it, that would be a great thing, right? But we don't want to get into a situation where we have a emergency investigation or emergency discrimination charge that we need to prepare for, and our in-house folks are full up and we need excess capacity, and then we need to move quickly. So I'm trying to play in advance, but be very prudent about how much authorization we need at any one time, if that makes sense. So, and that's why I haven't come sort of with large numbers at the beginning of the year. I want to just sort of see how that goes over the course of the year.
Chief Sivin, you probably know this, but maybe not. In terms of the schedule of transition items that are coming in front of us and like what the sequence is legal on that list, and is there a planned sort of discussion with the board about legal kind of structures and decision-making processes in-house, like a more comprehensive. What I am hearing from fellow commissioners is a more holistic question than the individual procurement items that are on here.
Yeah, happy to do that. And if it's not already on there, happy to make it on the agenda.
It's not currently on there, Josh, but we could certainly add it, Commissioner Corey, if you want us to add that. We actually got through our last transition topic, so this could be our new last transition topic if we want to add it.
I mean, that's the sense that I'm gathering. Commissioner Mohammed, Commissioner Simmons,
Please.
Commissioner,
Please. I just want to understand a little more and be prepared. So thanks.
And I do think some of those questions about just the broad sort of how you decide when something is in-house versus, external, some of the overview of anyway, these are like, the types of things that would be most helpful for us to have a broad understanding, awareness, and certainly appreciate the time and effort it will take to pull some of those thoughts together, But happy to spend some more time also talking with you about types of things that could be most beneficial and what commissioners might be wanting to understand more.
I'd appreciate that, because I don't think this isn't a new question. I mean, I'm just thinking from how we bumped from to the 7 and now it's 775 in just a few months, really. So just wanted to be just want to be clear on how that happens. I appreciate it.
Welcome the discussion.
Yeah. That's the end of our procurement items. Turning to the board office, are there any public comments that have signed up for today?
Hi, good afternoon. We do not have any public comment for today.
Okay. Any final questions or unreadiness from any of my fellow commissioners? Hearing none. Go for it.
I was just saying I don't. Thank you.
Okay. Hearing none. I'm thankful for everyone's time here this morning for our March operations committee meeting, and this is end of call. Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you.